Because again, we know down in ourselves that this isn't the way it should be. I want to look into the first consequences of the first sin. Genesis 3:19. Of course, there were consequences for the snake, and there were consequences for the woman and childbirth. But this one goes to all of us. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. That's the old King James. I was looking around, and I like the way the Good News Bible put it. So let's look at that. Listen to how it says it. You will have to work hard and sweat to make the soil produce anything, until you go back into the soil from which you were formed. You were made from soil, and you will become soil again. Boy, that's the problem. We're all headed to a death sentence, aren't we? I mean, imagine Adam and Eve after they had bitten the fruit, and then they watched their first son murder their second son. Death just pouring in on them. And now you got to understand, it's a totally alien thing, not only to Adam and Eve, but to the universe. This is a new thing. Death, what? The end of life. Okay, so you can imagine how bad. But like I said, we can't put all the blame on Adam and Eve, because our own choices go on, and our decisions, they continue the cycle, don't they? And they make the circumstances worse. The innocent, I've said this before, the innocent suffer because the wicked make bad choices. I can be a perfect person. I'm not, but I could be a perfect person. But the guy that chose to drive drunk and run me over, I'm the one that suffers, right? So, no man is an island, and all the sin that we practice and others practice, it all bounces around and affects us all. I like what Miss Tawana said this morning. She said, say it again, in Jesus there's, what was it? There's no I in Jesus, no me in Jesus, but there's a us in Jesus. And boy, I like that. I can't remember it, but I'll have it next time. But yeah, that really says it, doesn't it? It's about us. It's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us. And that's why the laws of God were put on the books, is to keep us from hurting each other. Right? That's wisdom that was handed down to us. But anyway, so look at this. Now, we were talking about Adam and Eve. They sinned, but Romans 5:12 doesn't let us off the hook. Wherefore, as by one man, Adam, right? By one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin. So notice, death was brought into our world by sin, by transgressing God's law. So, let me go back. And death by sin. And so death passed upon all men. But look at that last part. For that all have sinned. And I think I highlighted, so death came by sin, and death passed unto all men, and that includes women, ladies. It's mankind. To all mankind, for we have all sinned. All of us. Every person in this room has sinned. So, it includes all of us. So the bad news is we're all sinners, and we're all slowly dying. We're all headed towards a grave. That's pretty bad news. I don't know about you guys, but I like life. And so this is bad news. I don't like this. So let's see if we can get the good news. Well, wait. Sin made Adam and Eve. Oh yes, I wanted to point this out. Notice that they're wearing animal skins. And remember, the text says that God made the skins and clothed them. But originally, they were wearing something else, weren't they? Yeah, Adam and Eve they found out they're naked, and so they went over and they got them some fig leaves. Fig leaves were pretty big, I assume. I don't know that I've ever seen them. And they kind of got them together, and they made them an outfit to cover probably the strategic spots, right? Okay. But that didn't do it, did it? it didn't really do the job. And then God made coats of skin, or outfits of skin, garments of skin, and clothed their nakedness. You got to remember that sin caused them to be naked in the first place, in a sense, right? Because they didn't understand or know that they were naked previous to that. But then when sin entered in, they became naked. Then they tried to do it themselves, and it didn't work. But then God came in. Now I want to emphasize that for a second. And I want to show you. Now look, these are disobedient kids. They messed up, right? Does God send them out of the garden naked? Does he say, go out into the world? No, he clothed them. So already we're on mercy, aren't we? I just love that. Mercy from, what is that, chapter 3? And the reason there was mercy before, but mercy from already in grace, right? Already in grace. So now I want to jump off from the coats of skin or the garments of skin to the good news, because it's related. Okay? So what is the good news? Well, let's look into the Bible. That's our wealth of knowledge. God gave us the Bible to direct our paths. So let's look at it. And I want to go to Luke chapter 2, verses 8 and 9 first. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. You know what this reminds me of? Adam and Eve. You know, Adam and Eve, they sinned, they're naked, they got little leaves on, and God shows up, and what were they? Sore afraid, right? So it's the same pattern. Same pattern. Now look at this. Luke chapter 2. Now we're going to go to verses 10 and 11. I'll say it right in a minute. And the angel said unto them, fear not. Look here. Already, God's trying to comfort. He's trying to soothe. Fear not. For behold, I bring good tidings. What? Good tidings. What was good news? What was gospel? Good tidings. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to how many people? You sure it's not white people? It's not like Americans? Okay. Good tidings to all people, for unto you is born this day in the city of David, what? A Savior, which is Christ the Lord. That's the gospel right there, isn't it? So already we see the gospel. Unto you is born, it's talking to all of us, a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. So the gospel is about Jesus coming in our sin-darkened world, moving in among us, right? But that's not where the gospel ends. It doesn't stop there. And that's why I'm excited. Okay? The gospel is about Jesus living among us for 33 years, right? Let's look at this. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the what? The gospel, the good news of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. So not only is he teaching, but he's healing and he's giving hope. Because what does good news give? It gives hope, right? It gives you that thing that you know is going to happen and you look forward to it. You know? So not only did he just live with us, he could have just lived in a corner somewhere. He didn't. He moved in among us and he gave us hope, right? Now look at this. Luke 6:19. And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue out from him, and he healed them a few. All. Everybody that touched him, he healed. That's important. That says that he's got the power to help us, doesn't it? That's good news too. But you know what? That's not all of the gospel. There's more. If you thought that was it, I got more for you. This is a good deal, guys.